What a do, Earthlings? What's poppin'? What's happening? It's Thursday, TBT. So you know what time it is. It's another episode of Outer Space. And today, we got a really special guest, an intriguing guest. Today's special guest is, and she goes by many names for me personally. So for today, for the purpose of today, I would like to introduce her as It's Buena. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
What's the deal? What's the deal? What's happening? Pretoria represents.
Archer, hey, in these streets. We have to represent.
Now we got to, man. It's freaking wild. Like I think I've been wanting to get a lot more Praetorians on this show because, and I'm gonna be very, I'm not maybe not non-factual, but just emotional. For me, right?
Yeah,
For me, Pretoria has a very special place in my heart, and it's not just about family. It's not just about the place. It's everything incorporated. Um,
yeah.
for me, Pretoria means everything, and like when I refer to you in particular, you're a part of that as well. What's your just for the peoples out there, like do you have an affinity towards Pretoria? Is it just the place that you're at? Like or how is it for you?
100%. Hey, like I feel like for me, like living in Joburg for like 7 years, and then coming back and living in Pretoria again, like it's I feel like calm at ease when I'm in Pretoria. People are nicer. It's more relaxed. It's like busy enough but chilled enough.
Yeah.
I felt like Joburg is very like fast paced and like we have to get this money all the time. Everybody's on their own path, on their own mission. But Pretoria is a bit more friendly, and I feel for me personally, it's where I like to stay. Hopefully even long term. I don't know. We'll see. But if I had to choose between the two, I definitely choose Pretoria.
And if I have to be honest, and it could be that mentality of this is where I'm from or this is where we're from. But
Yeah.
honestly, man, I would love to raise my kids here. To be honest, like
Yeah. 100%. God willing that there are kids in the agenda.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, so
Yeah.
let me also say, because of lack of kids currently,
Yeah.
let me also say that even if I, God forbid, I'd love to be blessed with kids. Um,
Yeah.
Even if that doesn't necessarily happen, I just want to live my life here. I'd like it to be my grounding spot, my
Yeah. You're
foundation.
hoping.
Yeah, home
Yeah.
base. I want
Yeah.
to travel the world. Like I want to be all over the place. From for the people who believe that the Earth is flat, from the west to the east, from the south to the north. I really want to
Yeah.
touch on. I really want to touch on everything, and
Yeah.
just and on that realm, like normally I don't do this, but I think
Mm,
because we're creatives and we're able to digress a lot and introspect a lot, whether subconsciously or consciously. Like for
mm,
today's show, I really wanted to travel on the theme of, the journey of self. So,
mm. Yeah,
sorry?
that's a good one.
Yeah, because I thought it was very relevant because I think, because I think that when I talk about the journey of self, for me, I look at you. So I'm gonna tell you about like my perspective of you, and my perception of you,
Right.
um,
Right.
from what I know. So for those who don't know, we're blood relatives. Um, and I've always known you to be this very quiet. Shy is the wrong word. I think people can maybe confuse you for being shy, but I think it's more
Mm,
you were being the operating word, reserved. And it's kind of like,
mm.
and the older I got, and the more I understood, it's almost like you always knew what kind of guns you have, so you always kept them in the closet, and you'd be like, okay,
Ah,
which guns am I gonna pull out for
today.
which scenario? Which gun am I pulling out today?
Gotta show the people.
Exactly. So for me, that's always been your. But you, I just feel like you've gone through, and some things I'm not gonna touch on, that I know.
Mm,
But like, I think you've gone through a phenomenal growth.
mm,
And I say this as an outsider to your growth because a lot of people in our family will easily say, "Man, we didn't see none of this coming."
right,
So maybe
right.
obviously maybe take us through, summarize. Obviously your life is over 20 years worth of life experience, so like just
Yeah.
take, if you can take us through like what's been your journey of self thus far.
Yo, my journey of self has been like I think in terms of exploring, what that means for me personally or for myself. It started in like high school. You know,
Mm.
when you actually ask, okay, cool, what are you doing with your life? What do you want to do next? All those conversations with yourself, with your friends, with your family. It started there for me. And I've always known that I was good at both, right?
Mm.
Either music or numbers. And at the time, I was like, well, why not do both? Why not, explore both and see what happens? Because I was like, what, there's no game plan to life anyway, you
True.
know? Um, so the journey has been very, I guess, how do I put it? Like for me, it's more of a how I'd rather work on myself and then I present later. So I don't like to put like announce to say, hey, this is me, this is what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Yeah, I rather just say once it's done, like, oh, okay, by the way, I've been working on this, or hey, I got a degree now, or hey, I just, um, yeah. But for me, self discovery has been a process. It's been through personal experiences, certain challenges in life. It has been through meeting people, certain relationships, friendships, good ones, not good ones, challenges through varsity. I think it's an ongoing process, and I think as a person, I'm continuously evolving. And I think what people see now is the evolution, and they
True.
see the final product of the work I've always been doing, although the work I continue to do. Right?
Mm.
Um, it's a continuous journey. I can't pinpoint it to specific moment like, oh, okay, this is when. But I've always been intrigued by just reading books. I love self help books a lot. Just, finding out who you can be,
Mm.
what your potential is as a person, and, what you can do to elevate yourself from one point to the other. That's always been like my mission. So it's never been about, okay, cool, I'm going to attain this thing and then I've arrived. It's more like, okay, how do I keep becoming a better person, as I go through life? So that journey of self discovery has been a continuous thing, but I've always known like who I am. It's just like, it takes time for things to happen. It's not always like an instant, hey, I'm here, I'm this person. No, it takes time. And I don't, like I said before, I don't really like to talk about what I'm working on,
Mm.
who I'm working with, what I'm doing, because I think people of different perspective tend to have sometimes negative, you know, opinions or limited opinions
They
because of
disbelieve
how
what you have or what you're growing.
yes, how they've lived their lives and the decisions they've made and so on and so forth, right? And understanding coming from the perspective that, we have been blessed with the opportunity to be who we want to be. Whereas in many places and many people in the world don't have the opportunity to be who they want to be. They kind of forced to live in certain circumstances, to have certain, life experiences. But if you have the opportunity to explore who you can be, I think do it, and don't limit yourself to what you think you already know. If somebody else knows something else, then why don't try it? Like, how do you know you don't like orange juice if you'd never tried it? Or how
Mm.
do you know? You know, so always try it at least once and see for yourself, and then you can decide, okay, cool, you know, this is for me or not, you know. I think that's self discovery and journey and growing, you know. Yeah.
And what's the journey of your hair? You know, they always say that your hair is a story, especially with regards to dreads and specifically in this instance.
You know, funny enough, like when I started my locks, it wasn't that deep, you know, like so I'd gone through a phase of like trying all these like hairstyles, like I'd done everything, short hair, long hair, braids, stuff. Like I'd done everything. But I just like one day I was like, you know what? Let me cut my hair. Let me choose something that is stable and that is consistent. And it has stuck with me because like also like dreads are very easy, you know? It's a get up and go type of thing. Like even
Word.
like short hair is a lot more maintenance because then now every 2 weeks you have to go cut it.
Sure.
It's like process, you know. So this is for me personally. It's just low maintenance. Though people, I think, have a certain relationship with their hair and how their hair makes them feel and so on and so forth. But for me, it's just been like, okay, this works. So in terms of time as well, getting up in the morning, you know.
So I love my brush cut.
It's easy. It's easy. I don't have to think too much about it. It's like I either have it down, tie it up in a bun, and I'm good to go. Like I don't even own a comb, so like my life is very, very simple. You know. So I think for me, it came from that perspective. I thought I would cut it now, like after like 10 years, but like now I'm just like you know, what am I gonna do? Like have a fro? Have a weave, then that's like so much more work. I can't.
Yeah, I feel you. I
Can't
follow.
do it. I'm very comfortable now. Like this works. It's very like low maintenance. Yeah, I do like. Yeah, it's very low maintenance. You just have to wash it, twist it, done. Like
Then you're good to
you
go.
know. Yeah, it's yeah. So it's like literally it.
So let me ask. So, I think many people might not be aware, but you are a certified chartered accountant. Woo!
Yay!
And by
Well, I'm
this,
eligible. So let's correct that. I'm eligible to register. I haven't registered
oh, you
yet,
have
but I'm
to, or you still have to register with Psycha first, right?
yes, I have to register with Psycha.
Okay, all right.
Let's correct.
Okay, so you're eligible,
um,
but you're there. So,
eligible to register.
so
Yes.
I'll always celebrate. And I haven't done it, so I'm not gonna be like here, like yeah, I've always done it, but I'm trying to do it more. I always celebrate a
Yeah.
black woman being brilliant in whatever they
Mm,
do, and it is an accomplishment of brilliance. Our
mm,
grandfather will always say, "You young people don't know, don't chase brilliance." Um,
yeah.
and the thing is, people have the wrong perception. I've learned through meetings people who in your field or in that field in particular. People have
Yeah.
the wrong perception of the characters and the personalities of the people there. Do you feel like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's one two-part question? Do you feel like there's a stereotype for people who are CAs or who are accountants en route there? If so, and if
Mhm.
not, do you feel like when you're in those environments, when you did your articles and etc.,
Mhm.
did you
Mhm.
feel like because of the type of person you are and how you present yourself that you stood out? And by stood out, I mean in terms of being a great person, but also maybe being different.
So, in terms of corporates in that space, I feel like the people there in some cases were very one dimensional, right? It's like this is what we're doing, and I felt like I struggled in that space because I had this element, but I couldn't really talk about it, you
Mm.
know, and be like open, like, hey guys, this is what I do, and you know, because they'd be like, what do you mean? Like we're looking at financials now, you know. Um, uh, but there was a point like we had like a talent show or something like that,
Oh,
and we
dope.
had like a whole dance competition. Like people did like random things, and like oddly enough, we were one of the winners. Like me and my partner on that thing. They were like, "Oh wow, Gwen, I'd never expected that from you," you know.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, right. And then I was like, "Oh, cool, thanks." But after that, it was like, okay, it was done with. It wasn't that. It was a very fun, like not serious thing, right?
Word.
But outside of that space, like when you're in the office, you do your job and so on and so forth. I don't think there's space for creatives in that space. You know, I don't
Mm.
think institutions are ready for, or they're not very open to different people. You know, as much as they'll say that, hey, we want talent from such and such a space, want them to be like this, that, and the other. But when it comes to maybe bring a different element or trying to do things a little bit differently,
Mm-hmm.
that may be better, you know, they're not always very open to new and to different. And even having my locks, that's when you realize, oh, okay, maybe my locks are a thing, you know. But for me, it was never a thing. They're like, oh, the goat, the locks, you know. And certain perceptions come with the locks, you know.
Mm.
Um, Negative and positive and everything in between, right?
Word.
Uh, but for me, it was always important that I owned who I was. I didn't have to talk about everything about me in that space because it wasn't a safe space. And I think it's important to detect, to say, okay, cool, this is not a safe space. These people may, like you say, contaminate my vision, right? Whereas in another space, maybe I'm having a conversation with you, it's a better space where we can actually feed off, you know, each other and, you know, maybe pour into each other and say, hey, dude, like, you can be good at numbers, but also at the same time, you know, you can have this gift of music or creativity outside of. But in those spaces, I don't think it's 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 something that is freely there.
Mm.
Though they may try to say it is, but if you're in that space and you operating daily in those environments, it's very much the same thinking. Everybody thinks the same. Everybody has the same conversations. And considering the fact that we are placed on different teams every single month,
Mm. Oh wow.
it's different people. So I can't say I wasn't exposed to different types of personalities and different types of people. Oddly, there would be that one person you're like, oh, okay, that person's pretty cool, you know.
Yeah.
Or you'll find that so and so plays the piano, but they never talk about it. Like they never. It's always like, hey, are you going to the work event? No, yes.
It's like a party
Or
trick.
are you working
It's treated like
tonight? Yes, I'm working. You know, and that was it. You know, and it was like, oh, I've got a deadline. You know, you got a deadline. Things are hectic. Okay, cool, great. But never,
Just
never
jamming.
anything else. Yeah,
Yeah, and you know what? It's crazy because
yeah.
exactly. You know, it's crazy because I also want to clarify for people as well. You know, when you say because people will say, "What? I'm in corporate or I'm in those environments. I don't think the same. I apply myself to problems in different manners." But
Mm,
I think just so people don't get lost in that comment, I think what because I resonate with what you say because it's not that people aren't capable of being diverse in their thinking. They're diverse in their thinking in that segment, in that space, specific to that
yeah,
space.
you're
So,
right.
and when you are a creative or you're an innovator or you're expressive in nature, your
Mm-hmm.
realm goes to every single place. It touches different places. You know,
Mm,
it really touches different places and it allows you to explore yourself in a different avenue. Whereas in those spaces, it's for that space in particular. So I think when you meet
yeah,
people who are creatives
yeah.
in those specific spaces, what tends to happen is that the walls come climbing down. You know, they'll be like, yeah, you know, we got you. Oh yeah, you're the rapper. Oh yeah, yeah, you know, that's what you do. And it's like, cool, party trick. As I said, it's a party trick mentality. Yeah, you're cool because you do that, but party trick. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's nothing really
yeah.
that's people. And I'm not talking about like buying CDs or going to performances or whatever. Now I'm just talking in
Mm,
energy alone. People don't sincerely or genuinely invest themselves in you being better in that specific space. It's like I need you to be the best in this space so that we can be great here, so we can get our bonuses, and then you can do your party tricks. I mean, I support you if it keeps you sane and you come back to that,
yeah.
you know, then party tricks, man. It's cool. It's all for it. Yeah, man. Um,
Mm, mm,
and it's wild because you said something about you felt like you didn't really, not fit, but you found it a challenging space. And that's really what it does. Like, for example, Tsecho, was asking me the other day, why do I do these shows and why do I do these things? And I said to her, part of the reason, or one of the reasons, is that these shows also help keep the knife of my creativity, the soul of my creativity sharp. Yeah, I might record music and stuff, but then it becomes blunt when you wake up and you log on for work.
Yeah.
It does become blunt because now you've entered into a room where there's a roof, and you're in that room
Mm,
for a period of time, and you have to wait until
yeah.
the door is unlocked so you can walk out. Whereas,
Mm,
the knife of creativity requires you to be outside so that you can chop wood, cut
100%.
grass,
100.
slice salami, do different things with that same knife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is suffocating. It's crazy.
Um,
And I think talking about like the journey of self, just before I migrate as well, um,
mm.
what led you? I know you said you're good with numbers, but what led you to two questions actually? So one, what led you into wanting to go the accounting route in particular?
Mm. Okay. Well, I think it's something that, like, if you're good at something, it's like, oh, okay, I should probably just do it because I'm good at it.
Yeah.
There was no, there was no motive,
Mm.
right? It was like, I'm good at numbers. Like, I've always been good at it. Like, it's always been my thing. So if it's my thing, so I should do it. Doesn't mean because you're good at something that it's your passion or something that you should be doing necessarily,
Mm.
right? Sometimes it is. Sometimes your passion is related to what you're good at and what you're doing, yes. But sometimes it's not, right? Um, so with the journey of self, right? Going back to what you're touching on, like the environment, it's so important to assess the environment that you're in, right? Whether it's a workspace or a personal space, because I see it like I see a person as a seed being planted in an environment.
Word.
For you to thrive, you need the right type of environment. What is the environment that you're presenting yourself to? What are you exposing yourself to? And is this the right environment for you to grow as a person?
Mm.
So once you've answered those questions, then you'll make the decision to say, okay, cool. Okay, cool. I'm good at accounting. I do enjoy it, right? But is this the right environment for me to grow in the direction that I want to grow? Yes or no? What is the right? If it's no, then what is the right? If I don't know the answer to that yet, then now it's about exploring and trying to find, okay, maybe a certain company that is a little bit different, a little bit creative, that is open to your creativity and as well as your numbers, talents. Maybe that is the environment you should be working in. Or maybe supposedly you personally have to create the environment for yourself, right? To become. So the accounting thing for me, it's like I say, it's like I'm good at numbers. I'm very analytical. Like it comes naturally to me.
Word.
It's not something that I have to like struggle through.
Okay, that's dope.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then second part of the question was, so currently, you're out of that scenery or that environment. What
Mm-hmm.
and it does take courage to do it. So what was the defining moment, or what did you have to do to push yourself to elevate yourself to leave a very safe net environment? Because if you stayed and stuck it through, registered with SICA, started with a good earnings, bank with invested, build whatever, like it's a very safe net. I mean, it's not easy, but I mean it's a safe net.
Yeah.
So what
It's
and you
very
did it,
safe.
and you did it early because a lot of people jump very later in their lives, which doesn't hurt them, but what allowed you
Yeah.
to make that decision early and so young?
So first thing was that I am young,
Mm.
right? I don't have two responsibilities other than to provide for myself. And I don't really need that much to live. So I'm not paying anybody's school fees. I'm not responsible for anybody. So then it means at this point in my life, I'm at the lowest risk.
Mm.
And the fact that I left, I finished my contract, and I completed what I needed to do. So I had nothing holding me back
Word.
in terms of, okay, now I've got this commitment and. No, I'd completed what I needed to complete. It's important to finish what you start as well, you know, because nobody rewards anybody who doesn't finish anything. You know, you don't get a half a degree, you know. So finishing is important. However, like I said, like I am young. So if I'm 40, maybe I have different responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot harder for me to try do it, right? Try something, maybe start a business at that point. Start young, you know, take the risk now, lose the money now, then start again, rebuild yourself. It's a lot easier to rebuild yourself now at a young age than at a later stage. And considering the fact that I had finished in record time and a lot of people don't, it means that I still had time. I felt like I had time, you know. There are people still coming at my age, coming out of university and starting their first job, and I had already finished. So that means then I don't need the pressure of like having the comfort of a job 24/7 for the rest of my life. Will I ever work in corporate again? Probably, probably not. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
However, at this point in time, I felt like it's something that I needed to do for my own growth, right? Who are you as a person outside the big corporate name? Because when you present yourself to different clients, they know you as this big corporate name. They don't know you as just who you are as a person, you know? Because you're representing that company at that point in time, right?
100%.
But now I'm creating my own brand outside of that space. What is that like? You know? So for me, starting young is less risk than people think it is. It's not a risk at all because at the end of the day, come hell or high waters, maybe something happens. I can apply for a job, get paid again, rebuild myself, and then try again. Maybe I'll start another business. Maybe that will do a lot better or whatever the case is. Like, I feel like your job, if it's not something that you're called to do and it's something that you're doing because you must, in some way it should help and assist you in attaining your dream. Even if it's funding your dream, even if it means like it's funding your business or it's funding your studio time or it's funding your music video or it's funding anything that you want to do, even if it's things that don't necessarily bring monetary value to you, but it's something that you want to do. And the younger you are, the better. Fail quickly, like better. Just fail quickly, get up quickly. It's a lot better, and you also build your resilience along the way because you get used to it. You know, it's not like, oh, woe is me. Imagine starting a business with your pension money and then you lose it all. You know what I'm saying? Oh, so rather now, and you're like, hey man, I made a bad choice there, or I made a good choice there, and this is how it's benefited me. And like when you're like 10 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, you're like, when people ask you, hey, I want to be this when I grow up, this is when you're grown up. This is when you actually, you know, give that young going now, the young Neo, that dream, you know. This is the point where you actually live it out. This is not the point where you start making excuses like, oh, I have to do certain things. You know, I understand that people do have responsibilities and have jobs. Okay, cool, you have a job, but then outside of that job, can you create maybe an hour or two to commit to your dream in a week? Whatever that goal is, right? So I found that very important. Very, very important. So start young. Like, the sooner you can, the sooner you feel like you have capability of multitasking between having a job and a side hustle and whatever it is, better for you.
I agree because for me, for example, with the music, it's not a regret, but I do wish because everything happens for a reason. But I do wish I pushed and started a little bit earlier because I can see the value in the things that I've learned by just pushing what I had. But I think
Mm,
also I think what people must also take from what you're saying, because there's always people who want to argue, yeah, but not everybody has the same access, not everybody can get jobs. Yeah, not everybody goes to school. True. These are all real
mhm,
life factors. But I think
mm,
when it comes to carving the path to your own path and the journey of yourself and your own success, it's
Mm,
a lot of it is a mentality switch because there are people who have come straight from the gutters, you know,
mm,
straight from
mm,
the worst of situations. Now I'm talking about, South Africans, things are bad, but I'm talking about like in war struck countries where people were there,
mm,
battlefields, etc. Like there are people who have come from the absolute worst that anyone can experience through hell and have made it to
mm,
the absolute top of what they've wanted to do. And it doesn't happen to everybody, but there's that thing. It's about heart. It's about belief. It's about mentality. Because the reality is that we're conditioned to be in certain spaces. We're conditioned and not just in terms of being taught or said, but just in an infrastructure perspective or societal perspective, where we're taught to stay in poverty. We're taught to stay in as black people in entertainment or sports or whatever it is. We're taught to stay in specific pockets in life. So it's really a big part of it. What you're saying is start young, fail fast, fail young, fail quick. But also remember that it's also about failing is fine, because people think that once you've failed, and even though you maybe have to, there's black tax, there's other things that you have to take care of,
yeah.
but man, the potential and the possibility of pushing beyond the crust of the stratosphere that you're in is always available
Mm,
to every human being. So the crazy thing about human beings is that we're absolutely capable of absolute evil and bad and just badness, but we're also possible of really going beyond the stars. It's possible. It's quite literally we've gone beyond our own stratosphere.
yeah.
So people must just
Yeah.
remember about that mentality, or that the journey of self for everyone isn't the same. I mean, you got
Mm,
people
mm,
who struggle for 40 years and become billionaires at
yeah.
50. You have people
Yeah.
who haven't really struggled become billionaires at 22, but then they maybe drop at 30 or whatever, and we fall into the habit of
Yeah.
trying to compare ourselves to others so often. you know I ain't you, you ain't me, and that's just the reality, and that's something we've spoken
Yeah.
about on the show before, but it's something I'd love
Mm,
to reiterate, because
mm,
man,
mm.
we put ourselves down and we put each other down so often. It's wild.
That is so true.
It's
That
so
is so
wild.
true.
My
I think
goodness.
social media does that a lot.
Yep.
And I think consciously or unconsciously, the pressures to be like, be like the most gorgeous influencer or the wealthiest person on the net or whatever it is, whoever you aspire to be like. I think there is pressure in that aspect. But for I think what we have to sort of look at when you look at ourselves is say, what do I have now? And how can I leverage off of that to get what I want?
100%.
And I understand that your journey, like you say, it's not the same for everybody. Like some people do it once and they just make it look easy, like, and it's done and they finished. And for some, but for you, it's a
Yeah.
struggle.
Yeah.
You're like, God, why me? Why am I struggling? This person is like, thriving in whatever space. But understanding that everything is preparing you for your moment. And sometimes when you get things too early, you may mess it up. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a blessing too soon is not a blessing at all. And so being willing to be patient and working on yourself while you wait, working on your craft. If you're a writer, keep writing and submitting, writing
Never
and
stop.
submitting. If you're an entrepreneur, start another business. If you fail, like COVID-19 came and
Bam.
your customers are not
Godzilla.
there anymore, try find something else, you know? But having the resilience, I think resilience is such an important thing in life because I find that with a lot of people who are successful in whatever space or whatever space they're in, or have achieved a certain level of greatness, it's their resilience. You know, I think a lot of the time your success outshines your failures,
Mm.
and people won't see like, oh, dude, this person has been struggling, or maybe this person has been struggling to set up this interview or this podcast for so long. but they just see the final product and then they go on that like, oh, so and so's got their life together. And it's not the case. It's not the case, you know. Maybe so and so had to like save up for 3 months or 6 months to get their equipment to do it, you know. But they don't see that. They just see the final product, you shining there, or you know, or you got the degree, but they didn't see that you failed a year or.
They don't know about the tears that you shed, the days that you didn't have food, the days where you had to, you know, you couldn't go back home.
Right, and you just had to figure it out, right? So you have to be resilient and know which things you're willing to suffer for, and oftentimes the things that you genuinely want for yourself. It can be personally, career-wise, you know. Sometimes even if it's that holiday that you want at the end of the year, are you gonna like cut down on your going out to get to that vacation? Or, you know, it can be anything, big or small, depending on where you are at that point in time.
No more time.
Right?
Yeah. For 6 months.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Hey, it's a real thing because we spend so much going out.
You
know?
COVID has taught us. We call it accumulation.
Yeah. Go out to a restaurant and see how much you're paying every weekend. And the thing is, it's not just every weekend. Like during the week, you order something. Hey. Yeah. When you know very well there's something in the fridge that you can have or whatever. Yeah.
That's super phenomenal, man. And yeah, people always see the end product. And, you know, that connects to kind of what you said as well around, you know, you don't want people to pollute what you build up to, and you want them to kind of see the end product. But that's in a different light. And why I'm migrating to that is because let's talk about Dawn. The Dawn EP, debut musical project by It's Gwen on all digital platforms. Buy, stream, share, send. Don't send illegally, but send the links. Don't send the MP3, send the links. So talk to me around that. You know, what is Dawn? How was Dawn birthed? And you know, what was the process around that?
Dawn was an experience, hey? And it's still an experiment. Just to see what it takes to put a project together, a creative project together, from beginning to end, from production. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Writing, production, you know, artwork. From artwork, how are you going to promote this thing? Okay, how, you know, all these elements that come into play and just learning how to do it. I think that's why it was important for me to learn it, so that when I now start building my team, which I have started doing, I know what I want and I know what works, what doesn't. And I can easily tell when a person's contributing value and when they're not. You know, because I understand the process. Yeah, I took the hard way of like doing a lot of the stuff on my own, but it was necessary for me to learn because I wanted to know. Those are the things that interest me. I don't just believe in just be like, hey, be a creative and, you know. So Dawn for me has been a good journey of self-discovery. It's been a journey of allowing people to see different elements of who I am and not just the one-dimensional. And saying to people, you know, it's okay to be different. It's okay to be multidimensional. It's okay to be complicated. Everything's not just straightforward. I think people have more depth to them than what you think. And so for me, it was important to show that. So in terms of that, it wasn't, you know, it was more of like an intentional thing to say, okay, cool, let's see how this works. You know, if I want to be an artist, be an artist. Don't wait for some big label to sign you or, you know, you're waiting on yourself. You know, you figure it out. You do your research. You do the work, you know. So that's been a journey for Dawn for me. It's really helped me to grow as a person and as a creative. As a creative, you can't be boxed,
Yeah.
can't be, limited. So you constantly just pushing yourself to think beyond what you know, what you think you can do. So yeah.
And what's just as a sneak peek for the fans, what's your favorite song of the project? Do you have a favorite? Or
I
what's
do. I
right
like Knock
now?
It
What's your
Down.
favorite now?
I like Knock It Down. It's always been Knock It Down, number three, track number three, because it's about knocking down barriers and just everything, self-limiting beliefs, like what you think you can do. I think we should be open enough to be like, I'm going to own my space in the world, however big or small it is, and go for it. The limitations, a lot of them, yes, there are external limitations that we go through that we have to continuously fight for. Yes, we must fight through those too. But also your internal limitations that you set for yourself
Mm,
that we don't talk about with other people, right? We should be breaking down those too. What is life if you don't actually discover yourself in your entirety? So if you never discovered that rapping is your thing and you've always stayed in once. You never know. So just do it
yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah, just do it anyway.
And a quick
Yeah.
one with regards to the project itself, or not necessarily the project. So you said something around you're in the process of building a team. And I don't know if it's
Mm,
something you want to share at this point. But what are you building towards? What's your vision? It doesn't have to be clear, but what are you building
hmm
towards?
I think for myself, my goal is to be the best creator that I can be. And for that to happen, I need to have the right team. And along the way, I've met some really dope people who've added value to me, and I've likewise added value to them. And we've just worked well together.
Mm,
Also, like our values are similar, our work ethic is similar. So it has been very easy to say, hey, dude, I think we should work together in future, you know?
nice.
Yeah.
That's super crazy. So I think so. For example, I'll take you on my not. I'm not gonna take you on my musical journey because it's a long one, but just to kind of paint a link here in particular. So team is important. What I've begun to realize, not just begun now, but throughout the process, what I realized was that people must always remember that the most successful people in life, and whatever success means to each person, they've never done it alone. There's there's
Yeah.
there's no you can't climb the tree if someone doesn't allow you to put your foot on their shoulders, or allows you
Right.
or pulls you up from the top, or gives you
Mm-hmm.
the ladder to climb. You know,
Mm-hmm.
People always tend to think that it's all about me, and when I make it, people won't follow. No, it's nah. You always it doesn't work like that. I mean, if we look at what we naturally as human beings we yearn for company, we yearn for companionship. We yearn to survive, and generally survival works with a group. So team is
Mm-hmm.
important because and you see it with like a lot of these people who are successful in
Mm-hmm.
different avenues. You need to have people who can align themselves with your thought process, because what tends to happen is that, and who said it, and you also have to have people who also enrich what you do. So I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember who said it. I'm trying to pull it out now, but someone was just saying that if you don't have you should by 30 you should be having people around you who are elevating you, not necessarily by giving opportunities in terms of a job or an opportunity to see someone, but just an opportunity to grow. So whether that be
Mm-hmm.
through a conversation, through conversations, through book recommendations, through when you guys go out for dinner, or when you travel as a group, or when you do business together, and you just surrounding yourself around people who are instigating and igniting the right conversations, who have a similar vision. Even if you guys are doing different things, you need to have those people who can assist you to burn your fire. My fire burns, but yours does too, and we keep the whole fireplace warm. You don't have one
Mm-hmm.
single fire in the fireplace. Every wood, every item is burning individually or differently or collectively. So I think
Mm.
it's also difficult to do that because people always say that, yeah, you guys are talking about collectors, but where do you find them? And that's the other part, a lot of the times you have to enable yourself to get on the journey of yourself. Like I found myself meeting people who, were not at that level where we're now saying, okay, we're moving as a unit, but I know, like you said, you've met interesting people who have a similar mindset. You like that person, that person, that
Yeah.
person. And then, but that's because you were on the journey. Had I not started making music, and I was on my first episode of Out of Space, I had a guest
Yeah.
called Dwayne from the Bahamas, and I remember because we studied together in the States, and I just said to him, man, I can't even remember really how we met, but we connected through music, and we had the realest things through music. And he's also living what he's living himself. He's in music now. He's in the content space. He's in the film space, and he's living his dream. And we're gonna work together, and we're gonna do certain things. And whether we work together or not, or whether it's just we have those conversations that we had like we did back in the day, there's value added
Mm-hmm.
in that, and that's an opportunity for growth as well. So I find it. I'm
Mm.
I'm I'm very impressed by the fact that you're looking out for those things because people aren't really. They're looking to survive, and they're trying to find different means of survival instead of finding ways to
Mm-hmm.
work together with people. And,
Mm-hmm.
and what I love
Mm-hmm.
about Dawn in particular is coming back to the music itself. What I like about Dawn is that it's raw. Um, in every asset in the way in every meaning in terms of sonically, and it's raw in terms of emotion, it's raw in terms of lyric. I also
Yeah.
think that sonically in terms of the production, it's not overcomplicated. People think
Yeah.
that you need to have fireworks, but in
Yeah.
actuality you need to have something that just
Yeah.
complements what you're doing and
Mm.
allows people to digest what you're actually saying and and the feel of the song, of the thing itself. I find it tricky when, for example, you see a lot of artists in the hip hop space who are doing like just trap, bam, ba 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 ba, and what I find difficult about sometimes when people try to do that or overcomplicate production in general is that you confuse the listener. In all honesty, you
Uh,
know, I can tell you now, and everybody's experience is different. When I listen to Travis Scott, to be honest,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not really listening to what he's saying lyrically. I'm not really listening to what he's saying. Um, but it's produced and it's written in a way where it does connect in a particular manner, and that's why people can
Mhm.
really relate with his sound, and that's why he's doing the things he does. So he's expressing himself in a
Mhm.
certain way. So I love the I
Mhm.
love the rawness, the simplicity of it because there's potency and the simplicity in it. And I
Mhm.
also like another, I won't say friend, but acquaintance of mine. He also released a project, Exotic Music. He released a project, his debut album this week, and I said to him, and I say to each person who releases music, man, it's such a difficult process. You go through a lot, whether it's emotionally or it's financially or it's just there's a lot of time spent into what you invest. And I applaud you because you've also one you've taken the courage and you've taken the step to move out of a very secure space into uh, into a platform where you're walking on pebbles, but you can't even see what's beneath the pebbles. That's number one. Number
Mhm.
two, the process of putting it together and even the content that you're doing. I was saying to someone the other day, I was saying to my manager the other day that I think it was my manager, or it might have been Sejo. I said to them that I can see what you're doing with the content that you post. It makes sense, it correlates, and what you're actually doing is that you're welcoming people into who you are. And I
Mhm.
think what I'd like to ask you is that, I have an idea more or less via our conversations that we've had off and on air. Um, but just musically alone.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
like where you trying to what are you trying to accomplish? Where you trying to go musically alone? Because I know there's other facets to what you do, but just musically alone.
Musically, I just want to be really, I think, be the best that I can be, right? Um, and not limiting myself in terms of what I sound like, what
Mm.
I do. I'm in production school right now, and now I feel like my sound is different. So it's constantly evolving. So long as you
Well,
putting yourself in spaces that encourage you to grow, you're always going to be in a different space. So I don't think my next project is gonna be anything like my current, you know. And the intention with the current was for it to be very simple, very straightforward. I didn't want to overcomplicate the process of creating music or writing music. However, now I feel like, okay, let's push the boundaries a little bit more. You know, I've got new stuff in my pockets. If I what happens if I try this new stuff,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
And something that I said, because I'm also learning to be very clear and also be a bit more upfront. So one of the things I said I think I said it to Pablo, and I don't want you to take it the wrong way, because this is actually I'm attributing to what I feel like you're doing. This
Mhm.
project for me really sounded like a first project, and what I mean
Mm,
by that is, and there's a beauty in that. See, for example,
mm.
sometimes when you hear people who are looking to start a catalog of music,
Yeah.
they kind of shoot for the stars without knowing who they are or how they're getting to the stars. It's kind of just like we're going,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I could say that, similar, even though it wasn't his first album per se, because the other ones don't
Mhm.
make sense. Like I say, Drake is similar in a sense,
Mhm.
where with what was it called? Thank Me Later. It didn't feel like a debut album. It was kind of just like it's dope. I like it. I think it's one of his
Yeah.
best. But you know,
Yeah.
the jump from that to Take It was beautiful, because now I was like, okay, now we move. Now we're moving from his projects
Mm.
before, Thank Me Later, to Thank Me Later. That little space was a bit odd. So what I like about this project is that it opens, because it feels like a first project. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
where are we going next? So I feel
Mm.
like you've created the anticipation of where we're going next. I can see where you are. Kendrick Lamar, Section 80, to Good Kid, Mad City, to Pimp a Butterfly. Tell me where we're going next. And
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
important. And I think that's very important, because you allow yourself to be vulnerable with what you do, but you also
Mm.
you open the space for you to grow, not only with the
Mm.
music and what you're doing, but with people as well. And what you
Mhm.
also find is that, because the project sounds and is structured the way it is, people
Mhm.
actually fall in love with the authenticity of the project.
Yeah.
Not just because, oh, it's gonna release the project.
Mm.
And that really separates a lot of people, honestly.
Mm.
So I would continue, I would prompt you to continue to explore, because man, there's in the South African context, I'm gonna speak. First of all, there's a lot of beautiful creatives in this country musically. But I think what you're doing, so I'm not even gonna say you should do it, is people need to understand how to commercialize their truth. So not don't what you call don't become the norm. Don't try to be the number one trap guy. You can like
Mm.
trap, and that can be your sound. But differentiate yourself, build your story, allow people to be welcomed into your world, allow people to chew on your genuity, and also learn how you commercialize that, because people always want to hear a story, and when they hear a story and they like the story and they're likened to it, they say, "Man, where are we going?" Now I'm part of the journey,
Right. Right.
and breach the
Right.
boundaries. Like, South Africa is so small, like it's so small. You can be the king.
Mm.
You can be the king of South. You can be the king of South Africa, but the god of nothing. Like, um,
Hey.
that's the truth. You can be the number one streaming artist here, but man,
Mm.
where
Mm.
there's Michael Jackson, dog. You wanna be you wanna
Yo,
be you wanna be the best, or you wanna be Michael?
that's like, yeah. That's like all the way.
No, exactly. So I mean, like you need to thirst and have the hunger to want to touch that.
Mm,
You want, even if you don't
yeah,
necessarily get there, but you get there in your own different light.
yeah.
You wanna touch that. I wanna be a global. I want my truth to be global. Because, and it's not
Mm,
about being a superstar or making money. I mean, that helps to be sustainable, but it's
mm-hmm.
about touching people in different places, emotionally and spiritually.
Mm.
That's really what it is about. So we're waiting for that launch in Lusaka.
Hey,
We're waiting for you to do the music video, one of the music videos in Lusaka, or in what you call it,
and God willing, eh? God willing.
or in the fucking in the dunes of Namibia. You're just there, the wind is
Hey, man,
blowing,
it
the
could
sun
be
is going.
anyway. It could be anyway. Hey, honestly, I think the possibilities are endless. You know, once you begin a journey of personal mastery, you never know where you're going to end. So long as you start the journey and you continue on the journey, I mean, there's so much more for you to discover. There's so much for you to, uh, you know, see of yourself, of the world, you know. But I think it's important to start the journey
Yeah,
and everything. And you grow as you literally you learn on the job. You know,
yeah.
you as you do it, you grow. You know, sometimes you listen to your stuff, but you look at your stuff, you're like, I should have done
Yeah, it
this.
happens. It happens.
But then that's what you need to go through. You know, you need to go through those processes. You know, in anything that you're doing, like uh, how you start is not necessarily how you finish, and
Yeah.
just be allowing yourself to sometimes be uncomfortable, and also maybe people like, what is she doing? Like, be a little bit confused as to, what is she doing? Why is she doing it? It'll make sense later. Things only make sense later
Hmm.
and not necessarily in the moment, you know?
People only jump on
And
the truck when it's got gas in it.
right. And also, it's important to do things for yourself. Like, I feel like people are busy with their lives, busy living their lives. You be busy with living yours and be happy and do you at the end of the day. Whatever makes you happy, do it. If you're the biggest artist in the world or the biggest entrepreneur, then great. Then if not, then it shall be. I think we'll have to wrap up because I'm
Yep.
on load shedding.
Welcome to South
Yeah,
Africa, all our international viewers. Yeah, but no, let's let's wrap up there. Okay, thanks
okay,
so
cool.
much, everybody. Go check out Dawn by It's Gwenna. One word. It's out there. Apple Music, Spotify, your mama's radio. It's all there. Go download it. Go listen. Go digest. Sip on some tea or whatever you're doing. But man, go rebirth yourself. Embrace yourself in Dawn.